I need help, boss.
Stands up and says it louder. He goes, I have a really big penis.
We're the NSAA. We're never serious about anything except grip ball.
I have drifted an aircraft carrier.
What?
To an extent, but you'll be out there alone as fuck. There's no.
Just bumping into people by osmosis of dopeness, you know?
3, 2, 1. We're rolling.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Happy Hoodlums podcast. It is your host, Kemper Woodruff, the Happy Hoodlum himself, and the very powerful, super strong, always amazing Zachary Sampson. Yes, back for another episode, getting close to our 1 year, which is pretty freaking cool. So excited about that. Zach said he had something on his mind, so we're going to start there and then just see where this podcast goes.
Yeah, man. I mean, so where I live, I'm really isolated from a lot of things, right? And because of my vision situation, I can't drive. I don't know if I've ever really talked about that on the podcast much. And so because I'm in such an isolated place and I can't drive, it's hard to get out. It's hard to go do things. And it's equally hard to find like a job, right? Because I can't look for a job that requires a driver's license. I can't look for a job that requires me to travel too far. And so in Oregon, the competitiveness for the jobs in our field is extreme. And so on top of the driving thing and on top of the extreme competitiveness for all these video related jobs, I've had a hard time finding something that I feel like I would enjoy doing. And so, but in order for me to be able to move to a place where I'm not so isolated, I have to have a job. And so I've been like in this weird headspace of thinking of that I need to potentially switch what I'm looking at doing as a job to move so that you and I can focus on or be in a better place to do more things with Happy Hoodlums, right?
Yeah.
And so I've been in that kind of like headspace for the last like 2 weeks because like I really do need to move. It's bad. So I can't even go out to get like a cup of coffee if I wanted to, you know? And so it's just like I'm stuck in my house, and with snow coming, it gets even worse because on top of not having a choice already, the people who I would get rides from don't like driving in the snow. So even then, it doesn't even, it's not possible at that point either. And so for me, the whole career choice thing, switching that up, and feeling like I have to move because it's where I'm at is literally just hindering my social life drastically, and it's bad.
Yeah.
But that's what's on my mind.
In terms of getting a job, the one thing that I've always tried to do, if possible, was to choose something that I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
Choose an industry that I actually enjoy or that I have a curiosity about. And what I kind of found was like in the end, everything gets used somehow.
Yeah. That's good
sometimes
advice.
it's the people you meet along the way while you're at a job that seems completely counter to where you're actually going to wind up someday. And I think we'll see that in time because if you just don't stop knocking at a door, eventually it's gonna open, you
Yeah.
know? And one thing about film stuff is it's a front loaded, business structure in terms of the like work progression. So it gets like harder, 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 harder. But once you finally film that product, right, and
Mhm.
it leaves the editing process, it just does what it's going to do from there, And there's some industries where it's like you got to chisel away forever. I think it's just with film, we got to keep knocking at the door, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
putting good stuff out there, and in time, once that first one connects, then people will be like, ah, and by then we'll have a little bit more moving parts to this than just you and I. And I think that's really what the end goal is, which will be super fun. But I feel you that like in the meantime, you're like, I don't want to be hemmed up, you know, in this situation where I can't show up for other opportunities that might be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. And I I don't like blaming things or people for um the things that I've chosen to do in life.
Mm.
But I know that I know that part of the reason I am where I am is because I never had a type of pressure to get a job growing up. And the reason for that is because I stopped driving when I was 15 years old or 16,
Oh,
something like that. I had my permit for maybe like 6 or 7 months until I realized that I can't see enough as it was. Um, and so I stopped driving. And so since then, I haven't been driving. And what's the biggest motivator for a 16-year-old kid? It's getting his own car, being able to pay his own gas, drive him and his friends around. All right. I didn't have that. So I didn't have any massive motivator to get a job or, uh, even be focused about that type of stuff. And so I feel like sometimes I attribute my because I didn't start looking for a job, dude, until I was out of college.
hmm.
I had jobs before, but they were short term. Um, and so I never really found got a job until after college because of that reason, because I never felt like I had to get a job.
I think my mom started training us super early, my brother and I, and
Yeah.
like I always had this spirit of like wanting to contribute, especially because my mom and dad split up when I was so young, and I could see I always wanted to like contribute,
Yeah.
and in whatever way I could. So some of it though, because I was a little fat kid, just got spent on candy. Just to throw that out there. But I had a little dog like pooper scooping business, and I went over to all my neighbors and I told them this was like the slogan, and it was like, "I pick up where your dog left off." And
That's
I was
pretty
like, "You
good.
don't have to watch out for your lawn anymore." But I was just not the best. I got lazy because I'm a kid. I was like, I don't know, 5, 6 years old maybe. You
Yeah.
know, when my little entrepreneurial spirit just like got to me. And then I went and I took the money that I got there. I went to the Dollar Tree and I bought candy and gum, and I went and sold gum balls at school. Um, so I guess it was always something uh, that I was doing in terms of work, weeding people's gardens, odd jobs, stacking wood for people. Um, But you touched on something, and it was really interesting because I didn't start driving until I was like 18,
Yeah.
I think. So I was kind of late to the party. So you actually like beat me there. You know what I'm saying? And that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, like,
I wasn't even thinking about it. Like, it wasn't even an option to me at
yeah.
6.
Well, see that, like, and here's the difference though. You grew up in a city where you could get to the places that you needed to get to. I grew up literally where the house that I'm in now. This is the house I grew up in. And so it's like driving was almost necessity because you like the closest Walmart is an hour drive away. You know? And so it's like you have to be able to drive. And so,
Mhm.
you know, I did. I tried. But then I couldn't. I was about like the story behind it. I know I've told you the story. But I was driving with my brother, and I think we were in his Tahoe at the time. And we were in a parking lot facing forward, and I was about to pull out forward and go left to go out to the main road. And as I was pulling out, or about to, I hadn't moved yet. This lady comes walking across from the door to her car, I think. No, it was the other way around. She was walking into the store. And my brother said, "Watch out for this lady." And I didn't see her at first. And when I finally did see her, I was like, oh, yeah, this is the last time I'm going to drive. Because she was a big lady. And if I wasn't going to see someone that big in 1 second, 2 seconds, if I had to look for somebody that big, I'm not going to see a kid running out in front of me in the middle of the road. Or coming off the side of the road. So that was the last day I drove. I was like, yeah, never again. And
That's super responsible. That must have been one fat lady.
yeah, she's a big lady. She was a big lady.
Yeah.
So it was just like that was the biggest eye-opening moment of my life, and that was probably up to for a while. I mean, maybe still is the biggest decision that I've made in my life.
Yeah.
The most impactful because it did so many things happen after that. That snowballed from that. Some good, some bad.
Yeah.
And it's
interesting how there's some things in like realms of perspective that are just gonna keep you honest. There's things like if you're in the gym, for instance, you either can or you can't lift the weight, right?
yeah,
And it's pretty black or white. And those kind of moments where it might seem normal to other people, but to you, you actually have an experience where you're like, oh shit. All right, because you don't think about it. Your reality, you don't think you're impaired. This is normal to me, right?
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really strange thing. I know that was one of the most startling things about the brain injury stuff is like when I was forgetting that I was scanning people's IDs right after they gave it to me.
yeah,
Type just looking at them and talking like nothing even happened. Don't even know what they're talking about. But really, it's just
yeah.
sitting right.
You
Yeah.
know, I had a similar thing earlier this year with Miguel while we were hiking.
Hmm.
Because you know, like you said, this is your impairment, and you sometimes you don't realize you're living with it because it's the same. You know, it's the same thing every day. But we went hiking this trail called Punch Bowl Falls. And we were hiking it, or we were hiking to Punch Bowl Falls. Sorry, it's not the name of the trail. But we were hiking it, and I had hiked this trail probably a solid 30 to 40 times as a kid. And that entire time that we were hiking this trail, I was stubbing my toe on shit, tripping, not seeing shit. And I was like, I've hiked this shit so many times before as a kid, and I don't remember having this problem. And so I realized, I was like, wow, this shit actually has really affected a lot of shit. So I can't see a bunch. And I'm like, wow, this is fucking crazy. And I'm experiencing it live. I'm like, what the fuck? And we're fucking 4 miles into the trail. I can't just fucking stop going. You can turn around and go back, but you're still going to trip on shit. And so it's like, damn, you still kind of have to live with it, regardless of if you know or if you realize it. And it's, yeah, sometimes it gets to me. Sometimes I'm like, what the fuck? This is bullshit. And then other times I'm just like, oh yeah, it's a part of life. I'm dealing with it and I can manage it. It doesn't really bother me that much. Usually, like, those moods only, like, the good moods last most of the time. That's like 99.9% of the time I'm in a good mood. It doesn't really bother me that much. It's the 1 or 2 days out of the month that hit hard, because, and usually it'll be a day or two, and I'll go to sleep one night and wake up perfectly in a good mood, and I'm fine. It's not bothering me as much. But it comes down to like times like right now where I'm like, fuck, dude, I really wish I could drive. I wish I could fucking go meet up with my friends if I wanted to, or do all this other, just do shit that I needed to do. And so those are the days that it's like, damn, this is hard.
Yeah. And I think it really comes down to like, what is normal?
Yeah.
We have these ideas and like these expectations of how things are supposed to be, and then we're born oftentimes into completely like opposite looking circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like out of that is born this kind of like intuition about how to live your life. And I know, like, I've learned a lot just from um, your stoicism and your willingness to like observe and experience, you know,
Yeah.
um, on a very, like, you're very brutally honest with your self assessment. And I think that's part of what makes you excellent, but that's also part of what can eat at you when you're fed this hero's journey, really. You know, it's almost like we're told to see this other version of ourselves, and we can't really help but do this,
Yeah.
but and you have to go and attain it. Once you've seen it, you have to attain it. But nowadays, it's so influenced by a lot of other factors, from just overstimulation and lack of internal focus, that the intuition in terms of like creativity is getting sucked out of like some people's dreaming,
Yeah.
and they feel like they got to get this thing that's really not gonna be as fulfilling as they think it is, and so we settle for a normal that's like kind of blah in a
Yeah.
sense.
There's this this idea about houses, right? So we all live somewhere and we call it home. And sometimes some people are like, man, I wish I had a house if you live in an apartment. Well, to that person in the house, that's just home. And they want a bigger house. Well, it's the same thing up until you get to like a fucking island or whatever. You know, everyone wants something else. So it's right. You're better off just paying attention to what you got, living your life, being happy with where you are. Because when you're happy, well, you do happier things, and happier things end up usually being the more productive things.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny how life can be so simple, but sometimes if we're not tuning into that intentionally,
Yeah,
and it's just us allowing ourselves to see things as boring and ordinary rather than creating a better environment. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Somewhere that you can just have fun, right? A lot of people actually lose that, where it's just genuine fun. I actually shout out to Joseph Hines because I know he's going to watch this. Um, got Call of Duty, and it was like I went over to his house and just started playing Call of Duty, and I was like, dude, this totally makes me feel like Christmas, like when I was little, because I hadn't played video games in so damn long.
yeah,
And so I sat down and I was like, here I am just doing something just for the fuck of it. Finally, not having some kind of like end goal that has to like progress me further, you know?
yeah,
Just have a place to just kind of sit and almost escape to. Um, because I mean, I don't know. I get bored on just cheesy movies that keep coming out, you
same.
know?
You know what's crazy is what you just explained was the adult version of what most kids started gaming for. It's an escape.
Yeah.
So many kids got into doing that for like kids who got really into it, like that became who they were is because well they were kids, they had nothing else going on in life, and so they needed an escape. That was the only thing that they could control outside of their parents taking it away from them. And so for you have other avenues of things that you can focus on, but now you found playing video games, and it's like a refreshing, it's what those kids were experiencing for the first time, but you're 28.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. And it's kind of funny because um, looking back on it, I guess it was one of the things that I could control. It was my way to adventure into different worlds,
Yeah.
And Blockbuster was right at the end of our block. And so when they came out with Game Pass, I swear it was like $14 a month or something.
Yeah.
And they grandfathered our membership because we were like right down the street. We'd gone there forever.
That's dope.
And so me and my brother would just go back and forth a million times a day, play a video game. Oh, if this one's crap, go right back. And it was our way that we could go much farther
Yeah.
than anything else could have taken us. And so it was super refreshing for me to go back to just almost like the mindlessness of hearing a 13-year-old talk smack to some like 34-year-old
Yeah.
on Call of Duty.
That was me,
while
bro.
I'm just sitting there, yeah,
I was that
trying to learn
13-year-old.
how to keep up with this fucking pace. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It drained my brain so damn quick. I was just like,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. I've said some obscene things on fucking Xbox 360, bro. Like,
Yeah.
if you could get canceled for Xbox Live parties back in the day, I think we would have a problem on our hands. It was nothing
Yeah.
really like that bad, but it was some really fucked up shit. But
Yeah.
I mean, who
Well,
hasn't said fucked up shit, to be honest? And if you say
honestly,
if you say that you haven't said fucked up shit, you're a fucking liar. And I don't care. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to everybody listening right now. If you think that you haven't said some fucked up shit, you forgot.
Well, dude, when you get killed and you hear that like scratchy, shitty microphone that's way too close to someone's face, so it's like brushing against their cheek as they're like, you're like, fuck you. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
bro. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And fucking
It's
back in the day, dude, it used to be even worse because nowadays people really don't do game chat anymore. But back in the day, everybody had their fucking controller with their mic plugged in and that shit was on their head. Everybody was going to say something. Like
yeah.
you wouldn't find a game where it was just completely quiet, but nowadays you can.
Do you remember when it was just like split screen?
Yeah, I do.
There was a game called Sarge's Army Heroes, and then there was Conker's Bad Fur Day. Those were like the two games on N64 that were just like mind blowing co op games. And I think Rainbow Six was pretty good too.
I never played on N64, but I did play on PlayStation 2. I played Rainbow Six on PlayStation 2.
hmm
But I also remember playing like Medal of Honor and all those other games. And I'm like, this
Yeah.
is fucking sick. And like Halo 3 was the first game that my brother bought when we played it online. And that was the craziest part. But that was still a split screen thing. And I remember like the campaign. And I remember there was this special armor you could unlock through earning achievements in the game. And it's called Recon. Everybody fucking wanted it. It was the hardest thing to do. And so I remember it was like a summer. Maybe I was probably like 12 or something. Had 3 friends over. My brother was in the living room. We were all in the living room. And we had one more mission to do, one more achievement to do. It was completing the last mission in the campaign on the hardest difficulty without dying. And so we were doing this shit so many times. And it was over and over and over and over. And then eventually, the way that the mission ends is you're driving these vehicles, 2 different vehicles, 2 different people, and then but you're all 4 together, and the ground is exploding, so it's like a metal floor that's in pieces and it's hovering above like a lava ocean, and so each little piece is blowing up in triangles around you, and you got to drive through this hellhole and get to the other side without dying.
Yeah.
And that was the part we were stuck on. So we were doing that shit for like 5 hours. And I remember it was like one of the best days of my life. We all put that fucking armor on and we rocked that shit, bro. It was
Hell
dope.
yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know what my point was with that, but it was probably one of my favorite moments.
I'm just
As a
curious
kid.
your take on this. What do you think like growing up with shooting games did to our generation? Like where do you think the world really would be if we never put that into a video game? Do you think things would be different?
I personally believe that video games are less influential than other forms of media like movies, right?
Mm,
And the reason I believe that is because there's this documentary, and it's about I believe it's Into the Matrix on Netflix. I believe that's what it is. And this I believe it's this one. Anyways, this documentary dives into how the media has influenced people. And one of the people that they follow is this kid who was obsessed with the Matrix movies.
mm-hmm.
And he was, wearing the fucking jackets, the long jackets, all black. He ended up getting really goth and into like that scene, and then he started like I don't know, I can't remember like the whole story.
He was scaring people, but he was on it.
He was it gets dark. So he's like super into this shit, and something happens, something clicks in his head, and he kills his entire family except for his little sister with a fucking shotgun. And a lot of what he was doing in life and replicating was the shit that he's seen in Matrix, because that's literally the only shit he fucking talked about.
Yeah, but
And
that
so
just
it's like,
sounds like a crazy person being a crazy
it might
person.
be.
What does it have to do with video games?
Well, my point was that I believe other forms of media are more influential. Because in a video game, most decisions are your own. Right? Yeah, people do some fucked up shit in video games. But you're experiencing that in a way that's not the movie.
Yeah. I'm curious. I was curious your take on this, because to me, I think video games are an awesome way for people to express and to live out in like natural urges
Yeah.
to kind of like fight or fantasize. Like if you want to be a commando or whatever,
Yeah.
you're a peaceful dude, like, or you're just probably realistically never gonna take that chance for one reason or another, but you just want to experience, or you just
Yeah.
want to be a fucking dragon, go play Spyro. I
Well,
don't
see,
know.
like, we'll relate it literally directly to your life, right? As a kid, when you watched Rambo, did you kind of want to be Rambo?
Fuck yeah.
Then you
Dude,
got to
there
play
was
the
a
video
game-
game Rambo, and now you're all of a sudden you are Rambo, and you get to fucking,
Yeah, there was a game
you
called
know?
Turok back in the day where you were like hunting dinosaurs and stuff, and you're this
Okay.
like yoked Native American dude. And I used to think that game was so cool.
Yeah, bro.
And back then, video games, I was kind of born right as they were coming out, and consoles were taking that like evolution. Although when I would go to my grandma's, I was always playing like Super Sega and things like that, right? But at my house, it was like the first thing was the Game Boy when it came out with Pokemon. They had like the 3 different color ones.
Yeah.
And it didn't have any color on the screen. But I
Yeah.
remember we had a red and a blue one, and we both got one. And that was like a huge deal. We only had one game, but we played the shit out of some Pokemon.
Fuck
You
yeah.
know?
And at night, you had to have that little fucking light that shined down on the screen.
Yeah.
That shit was, yeah.
But things just kept like stepping up and evolving like at a crazy rate.
Crazy.
And to be honest, I think that video games are such a good outlet. The thing that has to be moderated really is this question of, is it truly like fulfilling, right?
Yeah.
Am I doing this for um, just like, is it a crutch?
Yeah.
One of the things I remember, we would make each other do like, because we only had one controller. So if we were playing online, it was like in between matches, you'd have to do like push-ups, win or lose. Just
Yeah.
pass it over and do push-ups, and
You had to
go
like
back and
do,
forth with that.
you had to do one push up for every kill or every death or whatever type shit. We did that.
No, we weren't doing that, because then
Oh.
sometimes if you beast mode it,
Yeah.
you're just gonna be like chilling, and then your bro's just like broken over there now.
Yeah. Well, we mostly did it off the deaths. So you'd have to do it based on your deaths. So you'd try not to die very much. And then we'd switch
Yeah.
in between games. Or sometimes we'd even switch every like death sometimes. So we would just be like, oh, here, boom, here, boom, here, boom. So it was 2 people playing the game at the same time, pretty much.
Also, drunk hunt. Like if you play duck hunt drunk, super
No.
fun.
Never played it. I've never been
Oh.
like, see, my type of game is like the RPG games where I can be the character in the story. I'm not
Yeah.
like really that into like Like I like the campaigns of like Call of Duty and shit, but I like to play a story. I like online and shit and playing against people. That's fun, but I really enjoy a fucking story.
Yeah, I like to outwit people. I think I will say this though. I like the storytelling of video games
Yeah,
better than like it's less predictable to me because you're so immersed in this experience. It's kind of like sensory overload,
yeah,
and I can get lost in it a little bit more than say like just like a drama show on TV. I feel like it's a
facts.
little too on the nose, like the writing,
Yeah,
where people like now they take crazy time with stories. Like I
dude.
think that's
Yeah,
why people they fell in love with like Final Fantasy and stuff like that.
dude.
That's why I think Comic Con is so fucking dope. Like whenever I see those people in town all dressed up, I'm like,
Yeah,
fuck yeah, go
I
get it,
fucks
Comic
with it,
Con.
dude. I love cosplay shit. I don't think I
Yeah,
would
it's
ever do it, but I think it's dope. I think it's fucking cool to look at because some people go balls to the wall with it, bro. Like some people
yeah,
actually learn how to do like metal shaping and shit
yeah.
to do that.
Hmm.
But dude, in terms of like the creativity and the storylines, one of my favorite games one of my newer favorite games within the last 5 years was Red Dead Redemption 2. That
Yeah,
story mode, bro. One, it is has like 10,000 lines of dialogue. First of
that's
all,
crazy.
um, not to mention the fact that you have 4 different endings depending on how you play the character, and so it's like the interactions are different based on how you play the character. They gauge it on like a good, an okay, a bad, like a slightly
I'm
bad or
always
bad
evil
character.
in video games, bro.
Yeah. See, you'd
Can't
get the
help.
worst ending.
Yeah, and it was a pain in the ass trying to play that game. It actually stopped me from playing it as much because I would just people would come out of nowhere just trying to fuck me up all
Yeah,
the time.
bro, that
Like,
game. Yeah. But that game is the only like the only story game that has almost made me cry. Like I actually kind of teared up at the end of it.
yeah,
And it was really fucking good, but that's one of the games that it just like you never know what you're going to get hit with cuz you could be also riding down the trail and all of a sudden you see some dude yelling for help to the left and then it's a crazy side quest that you go on. Like yeah, there's a bunch of games like that, but this game does it completely differently. And it's fucking
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. They did a really good job with it.
Yeah,
I
they did.
definitely remember when it first came out. I went over to see my brother play it, and I was like, "Come on, let me have a turn." He was like, "All right, but here, make your own game." I did not realize how long the intro to that game was.
Yeah,
Dude, time flies when you play video games.
it does.
You just fucking blink, and you're like, "Dude, what? It's dark out."
It's 12 hours later?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's fucking crazy. It's a time jump for sure. Um yeah, bro. Fucking video games are pretty fucking dope.
hmm,
GTA 6 is going to be fucking dope. There's two companies that I feel like kill video games. Bethesda, not kill as in a bad way. Kill it as just like they're killing it.
of course,
Bethesda
bro.
and Rockstar.
Yeah,
Those two companies kill it. Skyrim, fucking amazing. All the other Oblivion games,
dude. Resident Evil has been fucking tremendous
yeah,
forever.
fuck yeah. I never really played Resident Evil.
What?
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, bro. I wasn't really like. See, I'm not much of a horror fan, and those are like the suspense horror games, right? And so I was
Yeah, but
like,
when they went over the shoulder with it, dude, it was so much fun. I
yeah,
love that game.
I don't know, cause like I'm not really much of like even I don't really like horror movies, and it's not because every time I tell it to someone, they go, "Oh, you're scared." I'm like, "No, it's fucking predictable and it's boring," and I'm just like, I need something that's gonna literally just fucking throw me for a loop.
I don't like horror movies, but I will say Resident Evil is super worth it, and it's totally cinematic, but really fluid. Like They
Okay.
got that game down to a science, and the fact that you can play it co-op is so freaking awesome. But
Yeah.
when they first came out with it, I think it was Resident Evil 4 with Leon. I remember being little and like that game was stunning. Like there was nothing graphically like it.
Yeah.
Um, and they changed up the dynamic from being like this robotic, weird tank kind of controls into this over the shoulder third person, just kind of awesome experience. And
Yeah.
once they took that to like co-op, I was like, that's kind of when they reached their pinnacle of developing a game and catering to the people that love that game and making it better. And I thought that was really cool. What I see a lot of is like hit miss projects,
Yeah.
like cool concepts that just don't seem to land for whatever reason. It's not like, oh, you have to build a better world or things like that, but it's just weird how some things stick and other things
Yeah.
don't.
There's a game that
You know what
literally
I mean? Sorry, go on.
no, but there was this game that came out that Rockstar produced. It was called Bully. And it didn't really
Oh yeah, Bully.
yeah, it didn't really pop like the rest of like Rockstar games did at the time. Like GTA and Red Dead. And so it was like that was one of those games that kind of like got put out, didn't really pop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but well, I don't know. That game got a lot of accolades and
it
was
did.
always kind of it was praised because it was on the edge. You
Yeah,
know, it was the first time where you really had like a different kind of anti-hero.
yeah,
You know, like they took it there. You know, here, go be a bully. And I think that game was just kind of out of the box. It took a lot of aspects of games and just controller dynamics, you know, how you would fight and do the different events in each class and stuff. That was a really, really cool game. And they went out on a limb.
yeah.
I'm surprised that it's not still available like in the game store. To be
It's not.
honest.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I haven't seen it at least.
Oh, yeah. There's dude. It's fucking yeah. There's so many games that have come out and then just never really got enough traction.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think it's funny because when I was younger, I absolutely tried to play any video game that I could
yeah,
just to see like what was up with it. I thought it was just the coolest thing in the world. And then for whatever reason, I stopped because meditation had something different to it. And now I'm realizing like you can do both, but it makes you have to be more diligent with your time,
yeah.
you know, and mindful so you don't let it just like fly by. Because, dude, I'll fuck around and get lost in a video game.
Oh, bro,
Like,
trust. I
real
fucking know.
like that's one thing I will say about Call of Duty. They have like dopamine rush down to a science, son. You're playing that like it is so action packed. When you're done, you're like, "Fuck yeah, let's go!" I'm on the battlefield. Like I could be at my house with my face painted, just fucking going to fucking war, son.
That's awesome, bro. Fuck.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I want to try it. I want to play COD with you at some point. We
Yeah.
gotta play at some point.
See, that's kind of like the joy of it for me is like just calling my friends and talking shit. Like that's what makes me feel like a little kid.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, you're not on my back. Like, oh, what the fuck,
I thought you had me, bro. What
Yeah,
up?
all that kind of stuff is just so much fun. It makes me feel like I'm like 13.
Yeah. Bro,
Yeah.
back in the day, you used to make Call of Duty YouTube videos with Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Way back in the day. And we had this series called 1v1. And we would go back and play every single old COD and 1v1 each one. in 2 different modes. We would do it with normal guns and just snipers. And so we would do both of those and upload them to our channels. And that was probably some of the funnest shit that I've done in Call of Duty. So we literally went back all the way back to like COD 4. So not quite the originals, but we went COD 4, fucking every COD after that. Even the ones we didn't like.
Yeah.
And it was fucking awesome because we just shit talked each other and just fucking laughed and had a good time.
I think having a culture that's accepting of the right kind of shit talk,
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
is really functional.
Yeah, it is, bro.
It's pretty essential for human beings to be able to fuck with one another and joke around, you know? And
Yeah,
it's a tough existence to be super like hard all the time because you're just like hyper vigilant and alert, you know?
yeah,
It takes an aspect of joy because it doesn't feel like an innocent experience because you're acknowledging this vulnerability, and it's something that like I think that's why confidence is like a superpower.
yeah,
As you develop confidence, you, all that other stuff doesn't really matter. Um, you're aware of it, but you're able to look it in the eye, kind of, and then move beyond it.
yeah. You don't attach too much to
It
words.
takes up less bandwidth.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that comes down to, I mean, like you said, the confidence part, but just the mental health thing in general. Because a lot of people nowadays, bro, I drove through Portland the other day with my dad downtown. I was looking at people, nobody looked happy. Even when they were in groups together, they didn't look happy. They were either wearing a mask or they're looking down at their phone, and just fucking absorbed into this fucking weird thing going on 6 inches from their face.
Because they should be talking shit.
And they should be talking shit, laughing and making like having a good time. But they're not.
Yeah.
They're locked in. They're fucking zombies and it doesn't look fun. And I realize I'm like, and I'll take this back to my eye shit. I sometimes realize that living where I live is a blessing because I could be a completely different human being and I really like who I am. So I can kind of accept the fact that I live where I live, but I want it to change. And so, yeah. Anyways, it was a crazy circle.
It will, bro. I promise you. Because you've never been someone to shy away from work, you know?
Yeah.
And you're a very ambitious person. So there's no way that that's going to go wrong for you. You know? If you put someone who's not just looking at what they get from a situation, but looking to give to a situation,
Yeah.
you know? And it means that you're willing to invest, you know? And that merit alone will take you where you need to go. You know, sometimes you go to the wrong spot, so you realize this is not where the fuck I'm supposed to be, and
Yeah.
then you hightail it to the next nearest location. You know what I mean? That looks better to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Also, I think collect people like Pokemon. And like there's a video game that was like Pokemon Snap, and you're like riding through, things would pop up, and you gotta like get them with a camera. And I actually, that game was such a like fun part of my life growing up when I was little. Because
okay.
when it first came out, I was probably like maybe 4, like 3.5, 4 years
Okay.
old or
Fuck.
something. Yeah. And so I remember like seeing my brother play it, and I had seen the cartoons up to that point, you know? So I actually kind of go around in my day to day and I'm like, I collect people that are notable, you know?
Yeah.
So if they're a character in some way, you know, it's okay to joke with people. And I feel like it's easier to do that than to try and avoid them.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good way to, I don't want to say soothe yourself because that's still kind of like an immature way to go through life. Like, you shouldn't go through life needing to sting on people, but it's kind of
Yeah.
fucking funny. You know what I
It's
mean?
kind of funny, but as long as you're doing it from a place of like, I just want to have a good time with you type shit, I don't
Yeah.
think you're in the wrong at all. But if like you're doing it and you're trying to sting on people because you like hurting their feelings, that's a different story.
But have you ever heard of like Patrice O'Neal?
Yeah, I have.
Where he's like, Patrice O'Neal's the kind of guy, like, if he saw me, he'd be like, look at your hat. The fuck is with your hat? Like, he's just one of those
Yeah,
people, like, he'll just say something, you know?
yeah,
And I think people like that need to exist because they're kind of just, it's fucking hilarious,
yeah,
you know? And I don't know, man. Some people, I guess, can just turn anywhere into a stage if you're a true character, you know?
that's true. That's very
And so
true.
I think if you just go through life looking for people that are like playing their role so well, you know, like just
Yeah,
super authentic, it's way easier to kind of learn from them and interact with them and spend any need to draw an opinion about somebody so quick, you know?
yeah, yeah. I feel like having an opinion about people too soon. I know like I know this is like one of those things that people always say, but like fucking having too quick of an opinion of someone before you get to know them. That's basically what most people do online nowadays. That's literally what the internet breeds, and that comes back to the whole mental health and the internet turning us into zombies type shit. Not really, but like mentally. Um, I think that's what it comes back to. But
Yeah, it's really interesting to realize that we once we stop needing to create stories about people and we actually see them for like what they are, you realize, wow, like most people are really slow to develop out of certain habits. And so they'll find them and gravitate towards many activities that are really kind of bringing them to the same emotive place, you
yeah,
know? Or symbolic of their attitude about life in some way. Um, you know, some people are super, super successful with their, you know, relationship, but they can't figure out finance. You
yeah,
know, it's interesting how people can excel in one area and really not be figuring it out in another.
yeah,
And how once you're able to balance that out within yourself and like get that, you no longer need to paint this image of what other people are or aren't in order to feel comfortable with them. You know,
yeah,
you can just accept them differently, have a more genuine experience.
yeah, man. Like nowadays, there are very few people who, when I talk to them, I'll say I didn't like that person. There are very few people, and like you kind of have to be like a legit dick to me for me to say that. Um, and so it's like I would talk to most people that I talk to throughout the day again. I'd be like, yeah, I'd talk to them again, because it's like I just like enjoy people type shit. Um, and I don't know, man. I've said it before, but I just love people. People are cool. So are cats.
Yeah, Mr. Nose had to say what's up.
Yeah. Um,
Nose.
but yeah, man, I feel like if you know, someone who has been using their platform really well to spread love is
Hmm.
Lex Friedman.
Yeah,
He has such an ability not just to fucking talk, but to interview people. And because of his tone, it's because it's so monotone and so level that it never escalates to being like an argument. Even though he's saying like super direct shit that would make most people, if you said it in a more lively tone, start yelling back at you. And so it's like you can hear the love in his voice when he's talking about most things and to most people. And when he talks about what his mission is, you can hear it. And so it's like, and people just spread love a little bit more, just to talk to someone, to understand them, not to find a reason to attack them, you know? And so it's like, that's kind of like the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I like that Lex Friedman will touch on a lot of different topics, and kind of hot button things that people really do need help navigating, but are seldom kind of talked about in such logical terms. Um, the monotone thing, you're definitely right about that. I think you'd be a really interesting guy to talk to, but I've had a hard time maintaining my focus, and that's probably just a me thing.
Yeah.
But I think he's written a couple books that Alex has read, where he's given me some really sound advice out of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm super appreciative. There's just people out there whose sole mission is to just want to help inform others of better decisions to make about um, things in their life. But uh, I've kind of started to look and like really cherry pick success by dissecting what it is I enjoy about people,
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do I appreciate about this person? And then kind of go, in data terms, like, what is this person's industry, maybe?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, a lot of mechanics seem to have this kind of vibe going on. Just different things like that.
Go ahead.
And I've allowed that to kind of steer myself in some ways with the like decisions, say like with a job opportunity wise, Not that there's anything wrong. Like, dude, mechanics have saved everyone's ass.
Oh yeah.
I am not a car guy, but so salute to all my mechanic bros. But just for me, it wasn't something that I saw a lot of joy in people that did it full time.
Yeah.
There's some specialty garages that I'm sure it's like everyone's dream. But most of the people at like the neighborhood place, they just don't seem happy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, maybe not collect something from them in terms of anything other than twisting wrenches and kind of some advice about how cars work. Listen for this, don't do that. Use this, not that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Find an expert and be like, man, this person is just an expert, maybe like host or hostess. And be like, what do I like about when I come to this person's house?
Yeah.
If I leave a place and go, I really enjoyed that experience, I got to look back and go, how did that person handle me in this situation that made it so enjoyable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching the Theo Vaughn's podcast this past weekend. That's the name of it. With Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
And they were talking about Neil's relationship with his wife. And he told the story of how they got together, how they got married, and all this. And he started talking about how you can measure people by volume. Right. And so you can have like the things that you like about people, right? You can have that list. And then each time someone kind of has that in them, it fills their meter up for you even more. And so it's like the more that they have on this list, the more volume they have in your life type shit. And yeah, I don't know how I was where I was gonna wrap that around to, but I found that tied into what you're
I don't
saying
know.
in my head.
Hanging out with Neil deGrasse Tyson's got to be the shit.
It's gotta be the shit.
Yeah.
Some wild shit's going on in space. It's fucking wicked.
Yeah. You know, it's humbling
Yeah.
and really eye-opening when you look at history and how the stars and space really did act as such a science,
Bro,
at the forefront of everything. And then people say horoscopes aren't true.
you wanna know something crazy? Go onto the
Mhm.
fucking NASA's website, go to their image galleries, and go to the James Webb Telescope section. If you look at that shit, you are gonna see some cool ass shit. Cool ass shit. And it looks fucking dope. Like they just got an image, I believe, of a star before it supernovas.
Wow.
Or like as it's supernovaing or something. Turning into a supernova. Yeah. So they have a picture of a star dying.
Dude,
Which is
what
wicked.
kind of hard drive do they have? That they can all
Bro, they have
You tell me it's super JPEG? Like, where are
yeah,
all these
dude.
super JPEGs stored?
They're going in buildings that are fucking miles long.
Area 51 shit,
Probably bigger.
probably.
Like, bro, fucking the Pentagon employs like 20,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine what NASA's got going on.
Yeah.
Or whoever's saving the pictures from the James Webb Telescope.
Yeah.
I don't know
Elon
why
Musk.
that whole idea of just like simplifying pictures of space down to whoever's saving it is just like
Who's got the hard drive back
yeah,
there?
bro. Oh
know?
shit. Who's got the originals and shit?
Hey,
Oh
dude,
man.
no, not on Dad's shirt. Get out. All right, well, I think that's about going to do it because my back is just booming right now.
Hey, word, dude. I'm with you.
Everybody, thank you. If you've listened this long, we really appreciate you. Share this podcast if you thought it was any good. We kind of just nerded out and went in a random direction.
We're 2 weeks
But we
away
hope
from
you like
being
it.
1 year too.
Oh,
2
yeah,
weeks
yeah.
away. So
All right.
we're almost there.
Later.
Later, dude.